Well, it's a pleasure to have Governor Ron DeSantis with us. Governor, your book is as hot as can be right now, and I think the substance of the book is really very, very compelling. Why do you think your book is so popular right now? By now, the interviews are taking place, of course, but it's the substance of the book now, because the book was released on Tuesday. Here we are, it's Thursday. What do you think's drawing interest in this book?
Well, the fact that I was on for the full hour on life, liberty, and Levin didn't hurt. I'll tell you that. I think they said they saw a huge pop after that. So I want to thank you for having me. And a lot of people really appreciated the interview because you wanted to talk substance, and it wasn't about the nonsense that so many interviews can devolve into. So I think they felt like you were eliciting really important information. But yeah, I had someone say to me, well, you're not really talking about yourself. You're just kind of talking about like achievements and issues and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like I don't need to be, blowing smoke up my own rear end. I need to be talking about what we were able to do in terms of how we approach leadership, the results that we were able to do, what we're up against in terms of fighting the left on all fronts, and how Florida really represents a model for other states and really for the country. And I think people, because they know our country's had a lot of problems, particularly in the last couple of years, some of them are in these failed blue states. They see the problems up close and personal. But yet for millions of Americans, Florida has been a source of inspiration. During the time that I was governor, people have come down here to live. They've vacationed here. And yeah, I know. And so I think it's we have come to symbolize what America is all about in the best sense. And, of course, people are voting with their feet accordingly. So it's a story that we're proud of, but I think it is an optimistic story because we have fought the left on all these fronts, and we have beat the left on all these fronts.
Mm-hmm. And how are you being received? You're traveling now. You're talking to a lot of groups. You're going to travel a whole lot more. People enthusiastic, I assume, right?
Yeah, they really are, and people have reported that the bookstores the first day ran out of the books. They had to get more sent in and restocked. We just did a book signing at Books A Million in Ponte Vedra Beach, and it sold out very quickly, and we did the private signing, and we've been doing other events. So people are enthusiastic about it, and, of course, online. I mean, I think when they were watching your show, they all went on to Amazon and did it, and people can get it on Amazon. They can also go to DeSantisBook.com. So we're excited with the reception. We're actually going to be tomorrow in the state of Texas. We're going to be in Houston, and we're going to be in Dallas on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, California, and I know you've been there, and also Orange County, California. So we've gotten great interest in Florida, of course, because they know what we've done, but outside in these other major areas.
What do you see? First of all, your book covers a lot of things, a lot of areas, and I was very interested in your background, very interested in the part that talks about a post-constitutional America. And maybe there's not one thing, but what do you see as the greatest threat to the country? The attack on the culture, the attack on our Constitution, the open borders, what?
I think all of those flow from the root problem, which is militant leftism has infected so many institutions in our society. I can win an election in Florida, Mark, like I did by 1.5 million votes, almost twice as much in terms of raw vote than any governor has been able to do. And yet, the left still has a chance to impose its agenda on Florida through corporations, which we fight it back, like we did against Disney, through the universities, which we're also fighting it back by changing tenure, so tenured professors can be let go, and also appointing conservative board members to places like New College. They can do it through the federal bureaucracy, which has been weaponized, and they can do it through big tech with their censorship practices, which, of course, we're fighting back against. So I think the difference between maybe when President Reagan came on the scene was that government was the problem. If you could get a handle on government, I think the thought was a lot of our society was healthy. Certainly people didn't view business as being heavily politicized and some of these other things. Now, I think the left has so many ways that they can impose their agenda on us that we've got to be up for the fight. In Florida, we've said we're going to fight the left across the board. My job is to protect Floridians from the pathologies of the left. And yes, I'm going to win legislative debates in the Florida legislature. I would veto woke legislation if they ever did that. But I also got to be concerned of all these other avenues of society. And I think that's why things seem so ominous, because it's like everywhere we turn, it seems like there's an assault on our shared values.
The book is The Courage to Be Free by Ron DeSantis. Obviously, you can get it on Amazon.com. DeSantis, what was it, DeSantisBooks.com? Is that right?
DeSantisBook, singular.com, yep.
DeSantisBook.com. Mr. Producer, let's put that on all the social sites. Any major bookstore, even some minor bookstores, should have it. If not, you should ask them why not. I think one of the things that separates you from others is you're a reader. You understand American history. You also understand the history of the progressive era, this Marxism that's grown out of the progressive era. So you understand this battle over the cultures, the battle over the future. You cannot segregate it from politics. It's what you're saying now. Reagan was a reader. He had a lot of books in his library that go back to a lot of the philosophers. I suspect you have them too. And so you see over the last 120 years, it's been part of their effort to take over the schools, the colleges and universities, the media and all the rest. Am I right about that?
No, absolutely, Mark. And think about the debates we're having. I am doing things like banning gender ideology in the classroom, critical race theory, and people are attacking me from the left saying, you're getting government involved in education. Excuse me, these are government institutions that our tax dollars are funding. So the left views public institutions funded by your tax dollars, where you're electing conservatives to office, should still have license to impose a leftist agenda. How does that make sense? But I think conservatives for too long just kind of let that slide. So we're asserting our right to basically have schools do what's in the public interest, the best interest of parents and the best interest of students, and the same with our public universities. We don't want to fund universities that are going to be fomenting political activism and imposing ideology. We want to fund universities whose mission is the search for truth, academic integrity, and giving students a foundation so they can think for themselves and become citizens of our republic. And we'll fund that. So we have every right, especially when we're winning elections across the board in a state like Florida, to say these public institutions are going to be responsive to the policies of the state and to the best interest of the people who are funding the institutions.
So the media and the radicals in the opposite party and beyond, what they tend to do and what they do with you is they frame the argument in a way where you have to argue against something you never said or did. Like, oh, he doesn't want to teach African American history. Oh, he doesn't want to teach about slavery. Oh, he doesn't believe in academic freedom. And it's amazing how they can turn these things around and twist them when you're the one who's fighting for everything they say they claim to support, no?
Well, exactly. I mean, Mark, I think you reported on it. The AP, or the College Board, wanted to do an advanced placement high school course on African American studies, and our standards do not allow ideological indoctrination. And there was a lot of the course was fine, but they had things like neo-Marxism, they had CRT, they had queer theory in a black studies course, all these other things. So we rejected our Department of Education. Now, we weren't the only state who had problems with it, Mark. We were the only state to publicly reject, because when you do that, what are they going to do? They're going to demagogue you. They're going to call you names. They're going to do all that. But it's our view that we cannot let the demagoguery of the left veto us from doing what's right. So we've made the case, and actually I think a lot of people now have seen, well, gee, Florida actually requires teaching, all the key aspects of black history, which we just consider American history, because this is a shared history that we have, and you got to teach everything about it, but teach it factually. And so we've been able to do that. And so I think what the left, the problem that they have is, I'm very disciplined in my approach. When I go out to that podium and we're announcing these initiatives, these are things we've thought through. We don't do it half-cocked. And so usually they have a hard time arguing what I'm actually saying, so then they have to manufacture manufacture a false narrative. But the good thing about that, Mark, is when it's not grounded in facts at all, it's very easy to shoot down some of these media activists at a press conference because they don't have any facts that they can rely on.
You know, it's amazing, America. If Ron DeSantis were a left-wing Democrat, they'd be talking about what a brilliant man he is. He served his country. What a beautiful wife he has. What beautiful young children he has. And he would be the first Italian this and the first that. But, of course, you don't get that, do you? You're just smeared left and right. And I try to tell my audience, Governor, that whoever the Republican is, I'm not even talking about president, whoever the Republican is who's drawing attention, they try and kneecap them. So my final question to you is this. It's hard to get used to a media like this, but I guess you kind of expect this now, don't you?
Well, part of what the courage to be free means is that it's a recognition. Leadership in this day and age, when you're standing for our shared values, given the hostility of all these elite institutions, leadership's not cost-free. They're going to come at you. They're going to smear you. Of course they're not going to treat you like they would treat a Democrat. But you have to take that and wear it as a badge of honor because you're fighting the good fight and you're standing for what's right. And it is a sacrifice, although I don't really care what a lot of these people think about me, but it pales in comparison to the sacrifices our founders made, so many others through the years. And so in this day and age, when you're standing for our principles, and it doesn't have to be a governor or be a presidential candidate or whatever you want to say, a parent going to a school board meeting who's speaking the truth will be attacked. That's just what we have to understand. And so you fight through it. But when you stand on principle for people and you defend their values against hostile fire, they will have your back. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to win a historic re-election, because people had seen me for 4 years, never give an inch, always stand my ground, and always stand up for them.
Well, the governor needs to go. I want to thank you for your time. You can go to Amazon.com, DeSantisBook.com. The book is The Courage to Be Free. It is a fantastic book, as people who are getting it realize. I want to strongly encourage you to grab your copy now. That's Amazon.com or DeSantisBook.com. I know you're going to these different locations to sign a book, Governor. I just hope you have all the proper protection that you need, okay?
We do. We're good. We appreciate you, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
God bless. Take care of yourself.